Well, we Louis Appel, man, I love playing with him on drums.
I did
He
too.
he was solid,
I loved
and
hearing him. Yeah.
after the whole thing, we wound up getting a new musical director. Tommy was musical director on the first tour, and I sort of assisted him. And then Gary Corbett came in, and Gary played with Kiss and Cinderella and a few other bands. And he decided that they wanted to change drummers, so they got this other guy to play. And we actually had Vince play probably for about 2 weeks in rehearsals prior to we kind of realized it just wasn't going to work for whatever the reason
And
was.
those things
You
happen.
know,
Yeah.
it just and he's a really good drummer, but it just wasn't the right fit for everything and
Yeah.
for Deb. So then we got another guy, and then we started rehearsing with him. So I just I really missed Louis after that. And I think there was a bad taste between Louis and me because, not with me towards him, but he kind of thinks that maybe I could have helped him more and I didn't. God rest his soul, man. We were brothers. We used to like market ourselves as drummer and bass player before we even got the Debbie Gibson gig, And
Oh, so you
anyway,
knew him prior?
yeah, yeah. I knew him back when I was with the Mazarin band because he would sometimes come in and sub. And it's like, oh man, this drum's freaking great. I love playing with him.
Yeah.
So yeah. So anyway, we kind of it was sad because I always wanted to be friends with him, and he was they didn't we couldn't be friends anymore.
Yeah.
And I attempted a few times and it just didn't work.
Yeah.
But yeah. So anyway, so we had this other drummer play that tour, and he had a great time, just fantastic time. But anyway, the tour went great. Everybody. We did what we set out to accomplish: conquer the world.
Yeah. Well,
She was grossing. I mean, you read some of the Billboard things back then, and her merchandising I think, was more than the Rolling Stones in that era, which is like, are you kidding me? And we had a day off when we went to go see the Rolling Stones.
yeah.
Our tour buses pull up in there, and it's like, and we get out, we got in our seats, and we watched the Rolling Stones. Like, this is crazy. I've never done this before.
Yeah.
You know, executive treatment. It was like, woo! We didn't get to meet them though, so
Yeah.
I would
Huh.
have liked to. I would have liked to have met those guys. That's still when they were all the original members.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That would have that
we
would
were
have been
actually sorry.
something. It really would have been something because everything was, it was the 80s. Everything was in excess.
Oh,
You
it's
know,
huge. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, you know,
hmm
you know.
yeah. As a matter of fact, I started talking with Debbie again. I remember when I told you we didn't talk to each other for a few years, quite a few years, as a matter of fact. And when she called me on the phone, uh, I think I told you, it was like, man, I said, Deb, you sound exactly like you did when back then. She goes, you do too. You sound exactly the same. Anyway, we were talking. She goes, hey, man, I'm playing in Texas. Would you like to come and do a few songs? I was like, absolutely. So, she just sent me a tape of how the Segway goes, and went down to the arena down here and played, oh, God, I think it was Only My Dreams. And we did part of Electric Youth. It was a medley. It was really fun. And it was really wild because it just clicked. Everything just went so smooth. It went off perfectly. Um, and she's just as sweet as she was back then. She's all grown. And I was like, man, I felt so good to see like somebody who, I mean, I was young. I was probably 26, but she was
Aged
17,
with you.
18.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, man, she turned out like to be a good person,
Yeah.
because you see all these like younger kids that are just so screwed up, being in show business or the music business. And, poor Britney Spears, whatever happened to her, I don't know. But, there's like a lot of crazy stuff. And, Deb just, she has, it might have been her upbringing, the old
Yeah.
Italian upbringing,
Yeah.
very, very family oriented. And, yeah, yeah, still a good person. Like I said, I texted her the other day, and I shot video back on the tour with my big gigantic friggin' thing, and I shot pictures. But I think it was probably the one when we were doing maybe Over the Wall, and it was maybe the place where you were in Chicago. And I just took my video camera, put it on the drum riser right behind me, and it filmed her, and she's just walking back and forth. Da, da, da. So she goes, "Hey man, I'm doing a commercial for something. I don't know what it was. Might be a charity. I'm not sure." And she goes, "Could I use the footage?" I was like, she goes, "I need to ask your permission." I said, "It's your song. Of course you can. Of course you can use it."
Yeah.
She goes, "Yeah, but I have to, the digital thing." It's like, absolutely. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's on your page too, which I'll probably end up stealing to use to slide in here somewhere.
My life's an open book. I don't really have any secrets.
Yeah.
That's a good thing and a bad thing.
Yeah, well, it is, because people like to use that stuff against you at times,
Sometimes they do, yeah.
Try to steal your damn gig.
More than once.
No. Okay, the second tour, that's when, I always get this mixed up. Is it Wembley? Is it Wimbledon? Wimbledon's the tennis match, and Wembley is where it's at.
Wembley's a stadium.
There was a pick, was there a pick incident there? Is that where that was at?
No, that was in Florida. That was after we came home from Japan.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, that story.
Yeah.
You really want to hear that story?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, seriously, the pick was over your trach. Tell the story, yeah.
Okay, let me try to remember the whole thing. I'm glad we're getting this on video, because I told this once to somebody years ago, and at least we're going to capture it before I get too old and senile. We had just gotten back from Japan. We were over there for a couple of weeks, and we flew into Florida. We had a few days off. It was beautiful. And I was like, oh, man, this is great. So anyway, we had, I think, probably 3 days off, maybe in Miami. We're going to the beach, hanging out, and had a margarita or two. Go to the show. It was at might have been Tampa. Yeah, we were playing the Tampa Dome or whatever. It was, one of those places. I can't remember them.
Yeah.
And great room. Anyway, I would always hold guitar picks in my mouth because I can get to them quickly. I'd be like, okay, this song has to be, grab it out of my mouth and just start playing instead of like trying to find one. So anyway, I held it in my mouth. I was still extremely jet lagged for some reason. So song ends, I turn around, I pick up my bottle of water. I take a sip off my water bottle, and the guitar pick went down my throat and it got stuck right over my trach. And I hear 1, 2, 3, 4. We're starting the next song. So, and I said, holy shit. I said, I'm going to friggin' die here in front of these people on stage. I was like, I can't believe this is the way it ends. I couldn't breathe. So I took a swallow and it went down, but it got stuck here. So I was like, okay, started the song. Perfect. We get all the way through. There's like one more song to go, and it's the night is over. So we finished the second song. I walked down as we're coming off. I told the tour manager, I said I swallowed a guitar pick and it's stuck in my throat, and they were going to stop the encore. I said, no, man, I can. I'm good. Let's finish the show. So we went back, did our encore, and right after that, they took me over to the hospital. So I'm waiting around, and everybody gets in the tour buses and goes down to Miami or wherever the next show was going to be in Florida, and the tour manager took me over to the hospital, and I'm waiting in the emergency room, and I'm waiting there for an hour and a half. Nothing's happening. I told the people that, they asked me, what are you doing in town? I said, well, I just got done playing the arena over there. I'm playing with this girl, Debbie. Oh, you playing with Debbie Gibson? Can you get us an autograph? I'm thinking, I'm freaking going to have a guitar pick stuck in my throat. Can we get this thing out of my throat? Because I knew it was there.
Yeah.
So anyway, like 5 minutes later, whose tour bus pulls up out in front of the hospital emergency room? Debbie's. And she comes walking there. Kirk, are you okay? Meanwhile, the nurses and doctors, they didn't care about me. They're like, can we have your autograph? I'm like, geez, I'm not getting any respect here.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny, man. So I was like, whatever. I was breathing, so, I was okay. But I felt it was stuck right here. So, they took me back into the operating room, and they made me swallow these cotton balls with barium in there. And I remember Debbie came back there, and she was on the other side of the screen watching them do the x-ray, and you could see, like, the swallow thing. So they basically had to take me into the operating room and gave me some stuff, which felt freaking great. I don't know what it was. I was like, man, I could really dig feeling like this for
You
a
got a
long
six
time.
pack of that shit?
I have no idea what it was. Those, they were reaching down my throat, and they had to wait for the ear, nose, and throat guy to come in there and he puts a scope down my esophagus here, goes down there, and he sees it and he says, all right, well, we're going to try to push it into your stomach. Maybe let's see if we can get it out. And he couldn't get it out. And then he finally pushed it into my stomach, and he goes, uh-huh. Oh, you got your name on it too. He was able to see my name. He was able to see my name that I had on my guitar pick that was in my stomach.
You know how doctors are. There's like, good. We know who to bill.
Exactly. Yeah, that was like a $5,000. Oops.
I bet it was. Yeah.
That was 1989 money. That was a lot of money, man.
Yeah.
Had to get the the ear, nose, and throat guy to come in at 3:00 in the morning. So,
but but my worries would be, shit, literally, this has got to come out.
Yeah, it looked like a shark. It was like a fin.
Oh my God! All right,
it was like a shark.
Here we go, folks. Now I have to tell you, folks, whoever the hell's watching this, my laughing, I can't laugh very well because I got out of surgery and I've got an 11-inch gash down my side from kidney surgery. And if I laugh, it kind of bulges a little bit because they had to sew the muscle back together. And
that's why I'm trying to keep it a little bit serious today for you.
That's why I'm looking all crippled and stuff.
Let's talk about the dark stuff, not the crazy stuff.
Yeah. So we're going to be talking about the strippers.
Oh, yeah? You want to talk about that?
Sure. As long as you do. It's all fun and games. It ain't, it's kid friendly.
Yeah, it was kind of weird. I still not sure exactly who hired it, but I have a very funny suspicion. It sounds like the sort of prank that Diane Gibson would have played. I'm not sure.
See.
I'm not
just guessing.
That's who it was. I'm just guessing.
Yeah.
Because she was laughing pretty hard. I'm thinking, you're kind of like, I think you're the funny one here. We were in Pittsburgh at some place, and we were the next day. It was my birthday the next day, and we were going to Australia, and I was looking forward to that because Anyway, it was my freaking birthday, and usually when we get done with the sound check, I'd take my bass and either walk it over and put it in the rack, or my crew guy would take it from me. And when he came over and he went to take it from me, I go, "Oh, thank you." And he goes, "Just stay here for a second." I'm like, okay. So I'm wait like a second. All of a sudden, instead of hearing like Don Henley come on the PA system like they would always do, like after sound check, I'd hear boom, chaka, boom, chaka, boom, type of music. I'm like, that's an odd thing. And all of a sudden the lights are going like a freaking disco. It's like the Barry lights and all. I'm like, what the fuck? This is different. And mind you, there's only about 70 people in the whole arena. It's everybody on the crew,
the workers,
and a lot of them were right up front. I was like, this is really weird. What the hell's going on?
Oh, they was in on it too.
And who was right in the front? Debbie, I believe, pretty sure Deb was there. I know her mom was there, laughing their asses off because who's coming up the stairs is this girl. She was wearing boots and some sort of like really skimpy underwear. And I think she had a top on, but not for long. That came off. and it's just like ching, 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 and it's like boom, boom, and I was pretty embarrassed, I mean,
sure,
I had 70 people laughing, and we traveled with a video crew, so somewhere out there's like a high def video of this whole thing going on. So anyway, then she proceeded to take everything off, and I mean,
not Deb, the stripper. Let's get that clear. The stripper, not Deb.
No.
Just in case anybody wants to say something.
Yeah, exactly. The stripper. I was like, holy crap! What do you do? You stand there and it's like, this is crazy. But it was funny because Diane Gibson, she was like. So I kind of think she might have been the one that actually had her hands in that. I'm going to ask Deb next time I see it. Hey, Deb, do you remember that time I have to also remind her of that time. Hey, remember that time when we did that thing and we went from B to, to C to C sharp to D, and then I remember that time. Don't ever do that again. Yeah, we shouldn't have done that, but it was a great idea when we were all standing around backstage, like, let's do that. That sounds like a great idea. Oops.
Yeah,
wrong idea. But no, anyway, the stripper thing, that was pretty crazy, especially on a Debbie Gibson tour. Man, I didn't curse for almost 3 years on that tour. I really cleaned my act up. I didn't use any bad words. And I'm from Brooklyn, so every other word out of my mouth is crap, it was bad stuff.
Yeah.
So, but I cleaned it up for quite a few years there, for the better. But it was funny. It's like, here I am on a Debbie Gibson tour and strippers.
I wouldn't have never thought.
The world is doomed.
I thought when we were talking the other night, it's like, that's got to be done. If he don't want to talk about it, then he can shy away. We've got to bring that up. Because she was known for the squeaky clean image,
Well, she was, but,
Yeah.
But you had
we didn't know about the crew or her mom.
Yeah, we had well, her mom was very clean too, but it's adults. It was adult humor.
Sure.
So we had a pyro crew. The guys, they blew stuff up.
Yeah.
We had lighting guys, and there's road crews, and just it was funky. It wasn't like a Motley. It wasn't like a Motley Crue show, But it was, that's just total debauchery. I bet,
Yeah.
Oh man.
Well,
but we had good times, and nobody got hurt. So.
Well, that's what life's about. Enjoy life.
Yeah.
Don't hurt yourself or nobody else. Have a good time, And you're thinking the whole time, damn, I'm glad I had an interest in a stringed instrument. This is really paying off.
and realizing that I've always said everybody's replaceable.
Sure. Sure.
Maybe even possibly the headliner. Then they'll be replaced by somebody eventually. So me just being just a guy like the hired guy to go play a part in this touring production, I always felt really blessed. I was like, man, this is really serious, and very happy to have that, because so many people never get a chance to experience that. And I run into them all the time, and actually I run into doctors, friends. I have a couple friends that are doctors and lawyers, and they go, man, we wish that we could have done that, or we wish we could do that. And I was thinking, man, I wish I had your BMW or your Mercedes or your Land Rover too, but
Yeah. You always want what you can't have.
Yeah, you always want what you can't have.
Yeah.
And so the grass is always greener, as they say. But
sure,
I'm not going to ever complain, because I've never won anybody else's life. I'm really happy with everything.
It's kind of like, so to speak, hitting the lottery and then bitching because you got to pay taxes.
Right.
It's
like you're ahead, man.
Sure.
You're ahead no matter what. It's like, be grateful.
Okay.
And,
No, you can keep going. That's fine.
Yeah, and it was like I joked. It's like, sure beats flipping burgers, And hey, if I had to do that, I would do that too. So I'll do it. I never worked in a fast food place though. I did work in a bakery that was my first job. I made the donuts.
No, you didn't.
I did.
I did it at Kroger's.
No way.
I did.
Did you make the jelly donuts?
Yeah, and I think the only thing we did was just leave them out. I'm not sure if they went in what was called a proofer, I think, which kind of raised the yeast.
Yeah, then you put them in the oil and you hit them with the sticks that they flip over.
And they flip over, yes. They look like chopsticks.
Exactly, it was like whack-a-mole.
Yeah, it was. And I remember when the night crew would piss me off, I just wad up some of that dough. Man, I'd whiz it 5 aisles through the deli, Mm-hmm. And I remember, the local factory would let off or get out, 2-3 o'clock in the morning. And it was only me, frying donuts.
You got to get them out when they turn the right color.
Yes.
Like, okay, next, and you got to let them. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fun, man. I enjoy doing that. Then you fill them with the jelly thing, with the fondant thing.
Yeah.
Whatever the jelly machines. And I help make the bagels too sometimes. They're like early on a Sunday morning. And man, I'd go into the freezer, and they had like blocks of butter. As soon as the bagel came out, I'd like grab a block of butter and just like fast slap it off. There's nothing like a bagel right out of the oven. Can't get them down here in Texas. I can't find a good bagel. It's
Really?
freaking me out. Can't find good pizza. Can't find good bagels. I mean, there's some that are okay, but nothing's like that Long Island, New York City bagel pizza. Close, And actually, I've become used to it, so it's okay. But I like going to John's or Joe's down in downtown New York. To me, it's the best. Or Patsy's uptown. Whew. Yeah, baby, that's what I'm talking about. So if anybody wants to FedEx me a pie, I'm just saying.
you would happily sign for it.
I can't even get my family to send me a friggin' FedEx pie. It's like, come on, I'll send you the money. Whatever. I have to go drive up there.
All right, let's see, man. Was there an incident with the Electric Youth perfume? Didn't somebody stick one of those in their back pocket or something?
Let me tell you. Well, I don't know what city we were in, but she was had like, I guess it'd be like an endorsement. I believe it was Maybelline and maybe some other company. So they asked her to create her own scent, and it was the 80s. So she created a scent. She was talking all about it, and we get to the gig. We do our sound check, and I guess they FedExed a box of the perfumes that was before it was even being released to the public. They did a big news blitz about it, like magazine ads, whatever they did back then.
Yeah.
So she had a case of the stuff, and she gave everybody on the crew and in the band one of these things of Electric Youth perfume, and it had like this little tiny spiral thing in there, and it was a glass. It was like a nice container, very 80s looking though. It had like the 80s sort of shapes of spirals and whatever, and those sort of hot colors. Anyway, one of the guys in the crew, I guess it was the lighting crew, must have stuck it in his pocket, and he was climbing the ropes to go up into where the lighting truss is, and it must have fallen out of his pocket when it hit the arena floor. It was like a smoke bomb went off. I mean, holy crap! It was, the whole arena had that smell, and it was really sweet.
I remember that smell.
I was like, God bless her, but I was like, man, that's really kind of sweet.
It's
the
potent.
Whole plate. Oh, it's really potent.
Yeah.
You only need a little drop in.
Yeah.
But man, the entire arena had that smell the whole night long. Couldn't get it out. It was like stuck in my nose.
And I'm sure it was. Did it hit the stage, or
no? It must have hit the concrete floor.
Oh, okay.
Those lighting trusses go up, and they might be 50, 60, 70 feet up in the air. I don't know. And it just dropped out, hit the floor, and just. It was like like Mission Impossible. It fits in. You see like the smoke coming out. Oh man, yeah. I just actually thinking about it now. I can still smell it. It's like I know that smell. If I smelled it, I would know exactly what it is.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking. It was. I might even be. I probably shouldn't even tell this on myself. I baled hay for 9 hours in about almost 100-degree weather to get that fucking perfume, and I collected everything. My mom worked at a drugstore. I assume it was national, maybe worldwide or globally. Was Hooks drugstore, and she was able to get me those Revlon.
That's what it was, Revlon.
Those ads are, and me and my cousin always fight over it. It was a competition between us, because then you didn't have the internet, and we'd buy the albums, we'd buy the cassettes, and
CDs.
CDs. Yeah, that's when the albums were getting faded or phased out, and they had cassette singles and I think CD singles.
Right.
And it was more or less a competition between us, but my love for that went deeper than his, because it was more so about the music. don't know how I shifted gears like that, but my attraction to that was that she had a live band.
Yeah.
Because Tiffany, I don't think did up for the longest time. She would run tracks.
I don't remember. Yeah.
I don't remember either, but I think a lot of that mall stuff on that first album was tracks.
Tiffany.
I'm sorry?
Tiffany. Yeah. Because
Yeah, Tiffany. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, not. I don't think she would. I don't think she'd run tracks. I don't know, but
I'm trying to think. We never ran tracks. Everything was played manually. We did have a computer crash on the Arsenio Hall show, though.
Oh, I forgot about that. Tell that one.
That's really nothing. It was
Yeah.
just that we were playing the Arsenio Hall show, and that stuff it's recorded on tape, but it's live. You know, they run the top of the show to the bottom of the show, and that's right. We're coming out of a commercial right now, and 3, 2, 1, bang, and Leo had to start Electric Youth, and it wasn't working. So I think the other keyboard player, Gary, probably picked up on that, and they had to reboot the system and wait for that to come up, and then, you know, he got back to playing again. But, you know, of all places.
Sure. That was kind of the point of the story, you know. It's like, it wasn't a big story, but, I mean, of all places.
Of all places here, you know.
Yeah.
It's like on a TV show, freaking Arsenio Hall, millions of people watching.
Yeah.
And the Kurzweil takes a dump. I was like, wow. First time that ever happened, but, it happens. That reminds me of The Garden. I think I told you about that. Her grand piano that she would come
I was
on
going
stage
to
on the
get to this
lift.
the scissor.
But,
yeah,
dude, it was Spinal Tap, and because New York City is extreme, it's very strict union rules. You know, the electricians do their stuff and blah blah blah. You know, the carpenters do their stuff. They have a thing called the dark stage, like where you can't even like move your amp after when they go on break. You can't. If you have to get something off your amp, you can't. So take whatever you want. Anyway,
wow.
I guess the electricians ran cabling for lighting and other stuff under the stage, and her piano would come up on a scissor jack and hydraulics out of the floor. It was a big, 9-foot grand piano, and somehow they must have run the wire the wrong way. And we're at Madison Square Garden. Like this is our home turf. Like our family's there, Entertainment Tonight's there. Every single friggin' TV show on planet Earth is Madison Square Garden because Debbie's here at home doing her thing. So she's coming up out of the thing, and all of a sudden it sounded like World War II. We were like, what? Well, we're on stage. What the hell is this? Because it was like a nice, like 50 gigs before that. It was like a nice piano intro. It was like, it was drums going off and horns going off and air raid sirens, everything. What happened was that the scissor jack was coming up. It cut the MIDI cable to the piano, which was feeding the rack of the rack gear behind the stage. So it must have triggered every MIDI note on the machines going to this. At least it was in stereo, but it was like a bomb going off with musical little interludes stuck in between, probably for about 5 or 6 seconds. That was, man. So that was like another Spinal Tap moment.
Nothing like hearing a car crash and somebody laughing all at the same time.
That's what it was like. Oh my God. But she recovered. She was like, she said whatever she said, and she hopped off the piano and went up and played it on one of the other keyboard players. And so, she's always thinking on her feet. She just
that's a pro.
Nothing ever broke her stride. She just went in there, hopped right in, and carried on. She's pro's pro.